So the rabbi would ask all sorts of questions. Tell me, in the book of Habakkuk, what are the 13 references to Deuteronomy? And what are the 17 mentions of the word Itzhak? And how is it different from the word Avram? And you would say, well, it's this, and this. Or the rabbi might engage you in what are called remezes. A friend of mine thinks he found 22 in the New Testament. They knew the text so well that they might say, talk to me about, and quote you a text. But they didn't really mean the text they quoted. They meant the verse before it or the verse after it. And so you would know the text, and you would know the verse before it or the verse after it. And so you would think through, oh, he's saying that. So then you would respond with another text to his question from that text, which really wasn't that text. So you would, we all okay? Now, then you would respond, but you wouldn't respond with the text you meant. You would respond with either the text before or the text after the text that you meant. So you would respond and quote, and then this rabbi would know you really didn't mean that text. You meant the text before it, the text after it, and would respond with a different one. And you'd go back and forth like this. You can read some of this in the Mishnah, which is kind of like the Jewish New Testament. The text is so deep in their bones that they can converse in other verses and carry on a conversation. It absolutely blows your mind. I mean, you can say, how many times is the word well mentioned in the second half of Genesis? Boom, boom, do, 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 do. Any other questions? Mind-blowing. So this rabbi wants to know, can this disciple, this possible disciple, is he the best of the best of the best? If the rabbi believed that you had what it takes, you are the Harvard or the Yale, the rabbi would say, Lech hakarai, come follow me. And you would leave your family, and you would leave your insula, the family compound, and you would leave your village, and you would leave the local synagogue where you'd been studying, and you would leave everything, and you would follow that rabbi. You would give your life to being exactly like the rabbi. You would follow the rabbi everywhere. A phrase began to develop from one of the Mishnah sages, and this is an amazing way to understand what it meant to be a disciple. May you be covered in the dust of your rabbi. Because you'd have a rabbi come through the village, and behind him would be these Talmudim trying to keep up. Rabbis were passionate. They were quirky. They were weird. They said amazing things. They cursed fig trees, and they withered. And rabbis were funny, and they were really spontaneous, and they were opinionated, and they were like no wonder kids loved them. They were always using props. They were breaking things and setting things on fire. Anything to teach the Torah. I particularly like the fire part. And so the phrase became, may you be covered in the dust of your rabbi. There were prayers. You wanted to be so like your rabbi that if your rabbi took a piece of straw and put it in his mouth, then you would. There are even specific prayers because they believe that you bless God in everything. One of the ways that you acknowledge God is you bless him for everything he does. They have blessings to say over new garments. We bless you, King of the universe, for giving us new garments to clothe our bodies. They even have a blessing for going to the bathroom. Rabbi goes into the bathroom. Where do the Talmudim go? Into the bathroom. They want to see how the rabbi does it. I mean, I can't imagine there are that many ways, but this is how intense it was. A friend of mine literally saw this. Rabbi comes out of the stall. We bless you, O Lord our God, for giving us holes in our bodies. Which you do bless God for when they don't work. And all of the Talmudim together. We bless you, O Lord God, King of the universe, for giving us holes in our bodies. This is what it meant to be a disciple. And you would follow this rabbi everywhere. Because the rabbi believes that you can be like him. Now, the rabbi may quiz you and may say, my son, you do know Torah. You do know Torah. You do know Torah well. But you don't have what it takes to be my Talmudim, my Talmid, my student. So the rabbi would say, go, you won't be a disciple of mine. Go home to your village, make babies, pray they become rabbis. And then the rabbi would say this, go, if you weren't good enough, and ply your trade. It means go home and learn the family business because you won't be studying to be a rabbi. Notice the text in Matthew chapter 4. Jesus comes walking down the beach. Verse 18. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Why are they fishermen? They're plying their trade. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will make you fishers of men. And verse 20, for most of my walk with Jesus, has made no sense. At once they left their nets and followed him. Now, let's just have a moment of honesty here. How many of you have read this text? And it's often preached and taught. See, you got to leave your nets. And you're like, they just drop their nets and go? I mean, I've literally heard dramas where it was like, well, we don't know why we follow him. He's just got something special about him. And I've always wondered, it's just like the only thing I can figure out is it's evidence for first century drug use. It's just kind of this, like, yes, we will. You know what I mean? And generally, like the movies, let's be honest, like the movies about Jesus, he's wearing like a white bathrobe with a light blue Miss America sash, and he's like just kind of got this kind of like stoned look, kind of this calm, and then they all just go after it. It doesn't really. And then you're supposed to feel like, yeah, I should drop my nets. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds great. Why? Because a rabbi thinks they're good enough. You would drop your nets so fast. Lech hacharai, come follow me. This rabbi thinks that I can be like him. Now notice the next section, because this is even more fascinating. Going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them. And immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Now, it's always bothered me. There's nothing about Zebedee filing chapter 11. There's no kind of, you kids, always running off. You know what I mean? Remember the curfew. There's just nothing of that. Can you imagine Zebedee coming home that night? Honey, the boys aren't with me. Okay, I know. No. The boys aren't with me. Well, why? Well, they're not with me. Why? Honey, a rabbi came along who thinks our boys can be like him. And can you imagine the next day in the village? Don't have my boys with me today. Yeah, I don't see them. No. What would happen to his stature in the community? This rabbi came along and he said, come follow me. He thinks that my boys have what it takes to be Talmudim. And so they left with him and they devoted their lives to him. It would be the most amazing thing as a father to have essentially your reputation in the community. Like somebody thinks that my boys have got what it takes. A couple other texts I want to show you. Turn to Matthew 14. Let's see if this affects the way we read incidents in the life of Jesus. If we understand the rabbinical system and what it meant to be a Talmud and what it meant to be a rabbi. Notice Matthew 14. There's obviously all sorts of things going on. The Jews always believed that the text was like a gem, and you could turn it and turn it and turn it, and every time you turn it, you see the light refracting in different ways. So they see the text is like a gem. You can turn it and you can see this, and you can turn it and you can see this, and every angle is beautiful. So let's turn this text for a moment. Jesus walks on water, verse 25. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. Now remember that in the Jewish world, a lake and water is always the abyss. They always thought of still water, not living fresh water, but still deep water was always thought of as the abyss, the place of evil.